which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Santa Clarita Hearing Company. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Gene Dorio.
On your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And, of course, speaking of quality of life, our first guest this morning is Matt Browning from Mend Cryotherapy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Good.
Welcome,
good.
Matt. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about cryotherapy.
Okay.
And why it's good for you.
Well, I was going to tell you about how, when it's extremely hot outside, how wonderful it makes you feel. Today's not exactly the best day to sell that to you, but just wait until the weekend and Mother Nature will get back at us again.
Oh yes, unfortunately.
Yep, you're right.
But so the cryotherapy, especially I think for senior citizens, is real important. We do have a lot of seniors that come in every day, actually in the morning, to start off their day, just because it makes them feel good for the day. But it's a simple process. It's a 3-minute process where you get into a chamber. It's going to drop the temperature down to a very cold temperature and put your body into a fight or flight response. So it's taking away pain and inflammation naturally. It gives you a nice little endorphin rush as well, so you feel kind of good and happy afterwards. And most of your little general aches and pains, those usually get knocked out with just a single session. If you have a more serious thing going on, it might take a little while to build up and get the full effects. But it's a wonderful therapy, especially if you're suffering with arthritis or any of the little major aches and minor aches and pains that you accrue over the years.
Neuropathy. It helped my neuropathy.
Yes. So you did a service called pulse electromagnetic field therapy.
Yes.
That's
you
amazing.
Want to explain that?
Yeah, sure. So the pulse electromagnetic field therapy is another service that we offer, and that's actually just sending electromagnetic pulses through our body. We're electrical. We operate off electrical pulses through our body. This is actually replicating a magnetic pulse that the Earth emits that every living creature and plant lives off of or feeds off of. So whether you're getting old, if you're suffering from a disease or illness, if you have an injury, it's just cellular damage of one sort or another. By sending these pulses through your cells and bathing them in this magnetic field, it helps replenish your cells and speeding up the recovery process. And as far as nerves go, the nerves are an electrical, it's like your wiring system in your body. So when you send those electrical pulses through, it can help wake up your nerves if you have damage. On average, nerves that have been injured replicate about maybe a millimeter a day. So even if you do have something that's, if you have an injury where you have nerve damage, it can take quite some time to heal. Adding that magnetic pulse can speed up that process significantly, though.
Is that why, Matt, when I stand under the high power lines in Santa Clarita, I feel better?
I usually hear the opposite, but I guess to each their own, if that works for you.
Now, what do you do, Gene?
There are high power lines. They emit electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, that's a different.
And my question to Matt was whether standing under high power lines would do the same thing.
Absolutely not. That would do probably the opposite. So there's different there's different electromagnetic fields and different wavelengths and different hertz rates for that matter. So certain ones are therapeutic and certain ones are very harmful as well.
Well, I got the neuropathy after going through chemotherapy, and it was bad. It really was. And I started going to a chiropractor, which helped greatly. And then it was recommended I go to Mend Cryotherapy, which helped tremendously. Good heavens, I couldn't believe the difference when I first started coming there, which I think I must have come in on a regular basis for 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, I'd say about that. Yeah, you're pretty consistent for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And I sat in that chair and had those electrical pulses going.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was very strong, and other times it was not so strong because I couldn't handle the strong. But it did amazing things for my neuropathy. It really did. It helped tremendously, and I highly recommend it, especially for seniors, because as we get older, and I didn't say old, older, we come up with all kinds of different problems, aches and pains and that kind of thing. You know, some of us have arthritis like I do, and although I don't have any problems with it anymore, but there are many things that aches and pains and neuropathy, and I don't think that you get neuropathy from just chemotherapy. I think you can get it in other ways, but it can be of tremendous help to you. It really can, and I strongly urge seniors, if you have aches and pains and problems, look up Mend Cryotherapy and go in there and try a couple of treatments, or at least talk with them to see if they can help you out, because it's really worth doing. I highly recommend it. I really do.
So especially those as we get older,
as we grow up.
when we, right, with cryotherapy, though, a lot of our problems are mobility. So let's direct some of our discussion at those who are listening who have mobility problems with arthritis and certain joints that are affected. How will this help them, Matt?
So on that note, both cryotherapy and the pulse electromagnetic field therapy would be great for mobility, just depending on the situation at hand. So, for for people who are just have a little harder time getting up and moving, cryotherapy would be amazing. It'll loosen up their joints. It was actually invented for rheumatoid arthritis back in 1978 in Japan. They realized all the other benefits that come along with it, and hence why we use it for so many other reasons now. But initially, it was actually invented for arthritis. But not just for arthritis, so any kind of inflammation, that's what slows us down. That's what causes a lot of our other issues. So just by keeping that at bay, in general, you're a lot more mobile. If it's if you have joint issues, the pulse electromagnetic field therapy that Barbara used for her neuropathy, we can use that for any joint, any location on your body. So if you have a injured, say you have tendonitis or an injured elbow or whatever else, we can always focus on anything.
So for our listeners who are trying to figure out if this might help them, let's go through the sequence of what happens when they get to your office. Are they in a dunk tank, or are they put into a special suit, or is cream rubbed all over them? I mean, what are, they're trying to figure out, okay, cryotherapy, they're thinking that maybe this is, they don't know. So I want to bring them through an understanding of what, Matt, you will do for them when they walk in the door.
Okay, so we aren't going to freeze your head and save it until later to bring you back, so don't worry about that.
Stan Musial, was it?
But yeah, so if you come into Mend Cryotherapy, it's a very nice, homey environment. It feels like you're walking into a house, actually. So we did that so you feel very comfortable when you're in there, because I know you're walking into a place to try a lot of therapies that you've never heard of before, and they sound kind of crazy. So it's a very welcoming environment that we have there. And we'll have you come in. We'll just get a little bit of information from you, get you go over all of our services, our contraindications, and then have a little personalized experience just to find out what you truly do need. And just because you might walk in the door to do, say, cryotherapy, we might have a better option for you, and we would let you know that. We try to find the most affordable and most effective option for each person. I know a lot of you are on a fixed budget as well, and we are aware of that. So we do have ways to work with you. We have a lot of very flexible plans to figure out what can work best for anybody. But it's a simple process. I didn't even cover that. I'm sorry. So it's a 3-minute process. So when you do the cryotherapy, we'll use that as an example. It's probably the most intimidating. You're just going to come in. We're going to give you robes, socks, and gloves that you can change into. And then you walk into a room where we're going to have a cryotech in there that's going to help make you feel comfortable. And you step into a chamber that pumps in gas form nitrogen. It's very dry, so it's not like you're going to get wet. It's not shocking or anything like that. But you just stand there with your head standing out. The attendant or cryotech will be talking to you the whole time. And if you feel uncomfortable at any point, you just say it. And they hit the button and it stops and you get out. But it's a 3-minute process, so it's a very simple, easy way to get some quick relief.
Do you have to be able to stand?
You do have to be able to stand to get into the cryotherapy chamber. If you're able to stand up and hold on to something, that is okay. You are able to hang on to onto the sides if you need to. If you're unable to stand, then we would look at some other options, like maybe the pulsed electromagnetic field therapy.
Do you have to remain standing once you're in the chamber?
Yes, you do.
Okay, and for 3 minutes, though?
Yeah, it's just 3 minutes.
Okay, so it's pretty quick, and most people I know are able to do that.
Yes, and we have
so
people who are pretty severely injured and elderly people that do have a hard time getting around that are able to do it too. So,
for those who have they come out of the chamber and said, "Hey, this is great," and actually got them better so that they actually walk out and do better?
This is my favorite part of my job, and I'm not just saying that. It's very rewarding because I hear it a lot every single day. And like I said, we do have a lot of seniors that come in on a daily basis because of that, for that very reason. This is a fairly progressive treatment, so most people haven't heard of it. So especially, no offense, seniors, but that it's a more cutting edge treatment. So a lot of people who come in have never heard of it, are a little intimidated, maybe skeptical even. So once they try it, they're sold. I mean, it's almost across the board, especially when it's just for getting around every day and getting rid of those little aches and pains that just slow you down.
Do you need a prescription?
You do not.
You
No.
do not.
No, this is highly tolerable. I mean, children can do it. Elderly people can do it.
Yeah, that's very nice to know. And can you explain a little bit more about the chair therapy? Because that's what I did. I sat in the chair and I watched the what's his name, the guy,
David
the
Attenborough?
crocodile,
Oh.
the crocodile hunter.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I loved that show. And that's what I would sit and watch.
Yeah.
And I would stay there even longer until the show was over.
So what you did was you were doing the pulse electromagnetic field therapy, and we were focusing on your feet and lower legs. So we actually were hitting your nerve pathways from your mid leg on the side of your knee, sending those pulses down your leg to activate all those nerves, bathe it through the entire nerves going through your leg and into your foot. And that's a 30-minute process each time you come in to do that. And I would say if you are suffering from neuropathy, realistically, you're probably going to need to do this 2 to 3 times a week, at least at the beginning, to get things going. And then everyone is a little bit different. So as far as how long it's going to take to recover, it could be weeks, it could be years. It just depends on each individual. But it's a shame not to at least give it a shot.
Absolutely. I mean,
improve your life.
it. Oh my goodness! I felt so much better after a treatment, and as long as they weren't too busy, I was able to sit in that chair for the extra 30 minutes and finish watching my show, The Crocodile Hunter. But it
Hey,
really
Barb,
did help me. Definitely helped me.
Barb, did you do the cryotherapy also?
I think I did
Or
that
you just
once,
did the
didn't
pulse-
I?
Yeah, I think you did it one time. That's not necessarily. So I really don't recommend cryotherapy when you're dealing with neuropathy. So
right.
we just had her on the pulse electromagnetic field therapy.
I see. So, but still, when you have the cryotherapy, I mean, you mentioned about the fight or flight response.
Right.
I mean, and that's adrenaline or epinephrine response. And for some who have that response, I mean, there's not just fear, worry, but your heartbeat goes faster, and you get more tense. But is there a side effect in terms of a positive side effect psychologically? Because adrenaline does a lot of things. It does get your body ready, and does that help the mind as well in being in that situation with cryotherapy?
It does. So, and the magic with cryotherapy is it's not only producing norepinephrine or adrenaline, it's producing endorphins. So that kind of counters it. So it's a really funny thing when you ask somebody how they feel the first time when they get out, because they're confused. They're like, I don't really know how to explain this. It's like it's like a weird calm sense. It's like a energized sense of well-being. So because you have this adrenaline, but you have an endorphin rush at the same time. So if you're in a fight or flight, and we'll just use a primitive example, if you're being chased by a lion, you have that adrenaline to start running, but the endorphins are to, if he does catch you, at least it won't hurt so bad. So. So that's the magic of it. It kind of gets you moving, gives you a little bit of an energy rush, but you feel good and it takes away pain as well. Also, there's a psychological effect as well, because it's not the most comfortable therapy for 3 minutes, and it's teaching you how to put some of that aside, and by doing that, that's a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
It is.
So
Now,
there are psychologic benefits then to cryotherapy. There's benefits of what Barb got because it made her better in terms of the neuropathy. But the cryotherapy though can not just make you feel better, but intensifies the psychologic effect as well.
Correct. For multiple reasons too. If you think about it, when you're in pain every day, it puts people into depression. You're dwelling on those injuries. When you can keep that pain down and actually get a little bit of a good feeling out of it as well, you start feeling really good, and you stop dwelling on those injuries. And after a while, when you have an injury for a long time, it can almost become a phantom injury or a psychological effect. So once you can keep that at bay for a while, a lot of them don't come back.
well, Matt, what got you interested in cryotherapy, since it's a relatively new type of healing process?
Right. So I'm the poster child for for needing cryotherapy and everything else that we offer in our business. I've broken many bones in my body through different sports and different activities. I was paralyzed for 5.5 months on the upper left side of my body. I've been through a lot. So I also owned a pharmaceutical company, and I had access to all kinds of wonderful doctors all over the country, and I was not getting the help that I needed. I was getting the standard care that everyone gets, but I'm a very active person, and it wasn't enough for me. I started trying other therapies, and it's funny, the more alternative I went, the better I got. I heard about cryotherapy on the radio, just randomly, and nobody really knew what it was at that time. So I found one place in California that did it, and I drove out and tried it, and it changed my life, honestly.
Wow.
So
Did you have to go to school? Is there a process that you have to go through in order to become more aware and be able to help people when they come in?
Yeah, so in a way, so cryotherapy, technically you don't have to go to school to run a cryotherapy facility. If you just blindly open a cryotherapy facility, you're probably gonna have some issues.
Yes.
I already had a background that put me in this type of field, and I actually flew out to Dallas, Texas, and trained out there with one of the biggest, actually with the Dallas Mavericks training facilities. So they're the ones that put cryotherapy on the map initially.
Really?
So yeah, so I went out there and learned as much as I could, and then we came out here and I started up Mend. I felt that we needed to have a service like that that changed my life, and I really wanted to do something that was a little more rewarding than the pharmaceutical industry, because we all know that's not the most rewarding.
No, it isn't. You make a lot of money, but
yeah, but
that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. And I think especially in the last year, we've realized a little more about how that goes. So.
Oh yes, oh yes. The more you can stay away from those types of medications, the better off you
Yep.
are.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we're in the process right now of actually having my father get off a lot of medications that have caused many problems for him now.
Wonderful.
So,
Does he do the cryotherapy?
He does PM. He does the pulse electromagnetic field therapy every day. Almost every
the one
day.
I did?
Yes, he lays on the full bed and does his entire body. He does that almost every day right now.
Yeah, well, I started out on that bed,
Right. Yeah.
and then I went to the chair.
Yeah. So for yours is we needed to focus specifically on your feet, so that's why we went to the
Yeah.
chair. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. So your father is doing it now on a daily basis.
Yes.
And he's getting better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he's off all those horrible
We're working on that.
hydrocodone and all that
No,
kind of stuff.
he wasn't on pain medications, just,
He wasn't?
an array of prescriptions over the years that each one gave him a new side effect, which gave him a new prescription, which turned into another side effect and another prescription. So now we're peeling all the layers off that onion there and getting back down to the bottom of everything.
That's
So.
wonderful. Does he live locally?
He does.
He
yes,
does.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he can just come in on a daily basis.
Yep, it's just a mile away, easy for him.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
Well,
how,
does he
how do our
drive?
listeners get a hold
yeah.
of you?
He does.
Yep, he drives and he golfs about 5 days a week. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful.
So Matt, how do our listeners get a hold of you, Matt?
okay, so we're located on 28303 Newhall Ranch Road in Valencia, and our phone number is 661-294-7898.
And so you're in that shopping center kind of where Smart and Final is and the New Moon restaurant. And
Exactly.
is
Yep.
that where you are?
Right there.
That's
okay.
We're directly
right there.
across
So
the parking lot from the Smart and Final.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you get cryotherapy, you can have Chinese food for lunch afterwards.
Yep.
That's very true. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
It was a
Great,
lot of great information. And hopefully
Super,
we will
super.
be able to have some of our seniors come and see you and relieve them of their aches and pains, just like it did for me.
I'd love to see him come in. So
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Appreciate it.
I am Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
If you're in need of physical therapy, check out Focus Physical Therapy. Owner and therapist Adam Laraway has the latest in cutting-edge technology, introducing the Newbie, the ultimate in neuromuscular re-education. The Newbie can help you heal up to 70% faster and was FDA cleared in September 2017. The Newbie uses pulse direct current, which mimics the same neurological signals the brain uses and allows the therapist to identify those signals with 100% accuracy. Newbie can even help improve your sleep while tackling issues with neck, knee, and shoulder pain, sciatica, and arthritis. It can accelerate your fitness progress, which means better results in less sessions. Get stronger quicker. Why not use the same technology that the Dodgers and the LA Clippers use? Focus PT, located on Peachland off Lyons in Newhall. Call 255-4205. Go online at focusphysicaltherapyscv.com.
This is Jill from the Santa Clarita Grocery, the all-volunteer grocery program serving children, families, and individuals experiencing food insecurities. Since January 2020, Santa Clarita Grocery has distributed 83 tons of fresh groceries to our 4,655 families in the SCV community. Santa Clarita Grocery is a drive-up, drive-through service with physical distancing in place to continue serving our community. If you are in need or looking for a charity to do the most good for our community, please consider partnering with us by donating to Santa Clarita Grocery, one of the most efficient charities in the Santa Clarita Valley. A full 99 cents out of every dollar goes directly back to the community. Santa Clarita Grocery operates on a 1% overhead and is sustained through private donations. Santa Clarita Grocery is at 21176 Center Point Parkway in the Oasis Furniture parking lot. Please visit our website at santaclaritagrocery.org or our Facebook at Santa Clarita Grocery to make a difference in our awesome town community. 425-7575. Be our guest and experience the difference.
Olive Terrace Bar and Grill is the hottest new Mediterranean fusion restaurant in Santa Clarita with unique delicacies like seafood right off the boat, mouth-watering prime steaks, artesian sandwiches, delicious pastas, and tasty kebabs. Unwind on their cozy outdoor patio at their weekend champagne brunch. Full menu and weekly specials at oliveterracebarandgrill.com. Check out their full bar and happy hour daily specials in Valencia on Copper Hill and Newhall Ranch Road by LA Fitness. Olive Terrace Bar and Grill, delicious food seasoned with love.
Gavin Newsom is the most arrogant governor the state has ever seen. He's imposed some of the most restricted COVID mandates than any other state in the country, and yet California is no safer than any other state. I'm Arif Halaby, owner of Total Financial Solutions. We've been assisting Southern California residents with their financial goals for over 25 years. Under Newsom, my friends, neighbors have lost their jobs and their businesses. Our kids have lost a full year of in-school education and will now be forced to wear uncomfortable, restrictive masks. This is all in defiance to the very science Newsom and his cohorts pledged to follow. COVID restrictions, a spike in crime, and a homeless crisis are all blamed on Newsom's policies. More than 1,900 people a day have left the state of California. Enough is enough. It's time for a change. On September 14th, I urge you to vote to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. We support replacing him with Larry Elder, not a politician, but a leader with sensible solutions. So let's fix California. Vote for Larry Elder. Visit electelder.com. That's electelder.com.
Loss of hearing can affect the quality of life. Santa Clarita Hearing Center can help. They specialize in both preventative hearing loss and corrective measures, including diagnostic tests, new technology hearing aids, cochlear implants, hearing protection, and tinnitus treatment. They can adjust your current hearing aids or fit you for new ones. Santa Clarita Hearing Center also offers sleep molds, swim molds, and musician monitors. Book an appointment today. Log on to SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com, located on McBean Parkway next to the hospital. That's SantaClaritaHearingCenter.com.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And our guest now is Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Good
and I was going to say good morning, but it's the afternoon.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again.
Ever since we've changed from 11 to 12, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Barbie, you've got another hour to relax at home.
That's right.
You're pretty relaxed on this show too, Barbara.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, physical therapy.
Yep.
What is physical therapy? Do you want to describe it for some of our listeners who may not be aware?
Sure. For physical therapy in our setting is called outpatient orthopedics, and so we treat a little bit of everything. We pretty much use or treat any body part, neck, back, hip, shoulder, knee, ankle, wrist, elbow, the whole bit. And so we treat a lot of variety of different things. So when people have either some pain that starts, we address that, or we like after post-surgery, we see a fair amount of sports injuries, stuff like that, getting people back on the field. We do a little bit of neurological, and with the newbie, I know we've talked about the newbie before, we're doing more neurological, but that typically was not my specialty. There's kind of different specialties of PT, whether it be pediatrics or geriatrics or acute care hospital, rehab for strokes and spinal cords and that type of stuff. And so definitely my practice is changing a little bit because with the newbie, which works on the nervous system, I'm seeing more neurological patients. But physical therapy, there's a lot of different avenues that you can go for treatment, but we're generally addressing pain.
The neurological part of it, does that mean you have to go back to school?
No, I don't go back to school. It's just because of the new equipment that I have, it treats the systems a little differently because I'm mapping to find where your brain is sending a signal that's causing the problem. So it's tapping in because the newbie is pulsed electric direct current versus like say a TENS unit, which is alternating current, and that's used to try and block pain receptors, that type of stuff. The newbie is actually it's duplicating the signal. So when we map somebody to find where their source of their pain is, we're tapping into that nervous system, and that's how we're able to identify where the problem. And a lot of times the problem isn't necessarily where the pain is at. It's an inhibition or a restriction or a spasm elsewhere that's kind of like a cascade of effects. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So the machine is actually teaching you.
The
use of the machine.
The use of the machine, yeah.
Is teaching you.
Yeah, I can give you an example. I had a gentleman who was a runner, and he had sprained his ankle, had been swollen for about 3 months. He'd had standard therapy and just wasn't getting better, couldn't run, couldn't return to running. And so he came in and we mapped him. And so when we map, we kind of break the body into 4 quadrants. So in this case, it was his ankle. And so we basically mapped from kind of the stomach down, through the hip, through the knee, through the ankle. And the spots that we found were actually in his hamstring and his calf muscle. When I mapped over the ankle where it was swollen and painful, there was no signal.
How interesting.
No increased signal that caused pain or anything like that. Where he got pain was in the hamstring and the calf. And so we stuck electrodes on those spots. And then we just took him through simple movement patterns. And that basically causes what's called neuroreeducation. It re-educates the brain to shut off those protective mechanisms that were causing the problem. And so, that's kind of I'm tapping more into more neurological stuff than I have in my 21-year career, but I'm still practicing with more kind of looking at the joints and the muscles and figuring out what the problem is there.
Well, that's usually where most of the injuries occur.
Yes, but I've been blown away with some of the referrals that I would not have anticipated. I had a gal who had what they call radiculopathy. So she had numbness and tingling in her pain in her neck, down her arm. And when I mapped her, I found a spot in her wrist. That was the primary spot. And I would never think to look there. So we put a pad on there, and then the other one was kind of up in her shoulder, upper back area. And then we took her through movement patterns, and she was going to go to surgery, and within 2 visits, pain was gone.
No
She's
surgery.
like, I'm not going to surgery.
Ah,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Very
So that was
good.
pretty cool.
Wow.
So I've been blown away by some of the I guess success stories that we've had. It's been pretty cool.
And some of the things you have learned.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm still learning. Yeah. Yeah, when I got the newbie, there was only, I think, about 25 of us nationwide that were utilizing it, and they just actually made an announcement. We have practitioner meetings every month because everybody's still learning, and there's about 400 of us now nationwide
Wow.
that utilize it. So it's definitely growing. It's getting a lot more attention. They just actually, NewFit, which is the company, just hired a research neurologist to head up their research, because that's our biggest, I would say, deficit. Is we just don't have, we have case studies, but we don't have the research to back it up. So they've partnered up with University of Southern Florida, Texas. There's a big healthcare facility in Colorado that they're partnering up to do a lot of research so that we can get more, I guess, literature that backs up, hey, what we're seeing is actually happening, and this is why, and this is how, and that's, so it's been really, really fun.
Well, what spurred you on to get this machine?
So, I just opened up Focus Physical Therapy about 2 years ago. And I was a partial owner of it in the Antelope Valley for 16 years.
Right, remember that.
And just decided needed a change, wanted to be in our hometown and that type of stuff. But my business coach, the gentleman that's the director of physical therapy for NewFit, hired the same business coach that I hired to help me start my practice. And so he told me, he's like, I got to introduce you to Jason, because this guy's got some stuff that he's been my business coach has been a PT for over 30 years, and he said, this is stuff I've never seen. Like, it blows my mind. And it's a game changer, and he's absolutely right. So yeah, so that's how I got introduced to it, and then I met with Jason, and then I ended up flying to Florida, and I trained with him for 4 days, and learned about the newbie, and then started that process. And then I actually flew to Austin, which is where the headquarters is, and I got certified with their certification. So I have two separate certifications with the newbie right now, and I'm actually working on a third one right now.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So I guess I am good at going back to school a little bit. No, come full circle there.
Well, what kind of schooling do you have to be a physical therapist?
So currently now it's a doctorate of physical therapy. So you're usually doing 4 years of undergraduate school, and then you have to get accepted into a physical therapy program that's a 3-year doctoral level program.
Wow, that's a lot of education.
It's a lot of education, yeah. I've been a PT so long, I'm kind of grandfathered in. So I did 4 years of undergraduate school, and then I have a master's of physical therapy. When I was a third year in my program, they actually were switching over to the doctorate, so I was on the board for that transitional program. So my school changed over to a doctorate in 2004, but I think it was 2008 was when they were mandatory to be a doctor of physical therapy. So some of us that have been around for a while are either masters or some of them, like one of my co-owners at the old clinic I was at, just had a bachelor's, but he'd been practicing for 35 years. So.
Good heavens.
Yeah.
So you literally learn about all the muscles and the bones and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do
how
anatomy
they work
and physiology and neuroanatomy and biomechanics, human motion. There's a class on geriatrics, so we learn all that stuff. And then you kind of specialize in the field that you want to go into, whether it's acute care in the hospital or outpatient orthopedics or pediatrics. So that's why I said neuro has not been my thing. That's more spinal cords and your stroke patients and your multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's. But because of the newbie, I'm starting to go a little bit more into that realm.
And that must be really exciting for you.
It is. It's pretty exciting. Sometimes a little intimidating because I'm seeing things in my 21-year career I've never seen before. So
that you didn't know existed.
Right, yeah. I've definitely had some very rare conditions that, people have kind of struck out with, or gotten to the limits of what they could do. And so they've called in to see, hey, will the newbie help with that? And well, let's try. And we've made some really cool successes with some people. So it's been a lot of fun.
So do you physically move people when they come in to see you? The physical therapy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's physical. It's physical,
it is,
body-wise.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that's, we use the newbie a lot. So, once we find those spots, then we're taking through, which sometimes is really simplistic movement patterns, because that's what you need to re-educate the brain. Mm-hmm. But I still do a lot of my stuff that got me here, for the first 20 years, where I, do hands-on manual therapy. I get in there, I maybe mobilize a joint, or I, take people through range of motion, stretch things. I do a lot of what's called manual resistive exercise, where I work with, say, somebody's shoulder, and so I have them going through motions while I'm giving them resistance, which gives me a lot of feedback on how strong, or if there's instability or things that I need to address. So I really like that aspect of PT. Is that I'm a hands-on therapist. I gotta figure out what's going on and get my hands on the person so I can feel, and then we work together as a team. Both the patient and the therapist to problem solve.
Well, now, I used to go to a chiropractor that did all kinds of twistings and turnings,
Right.
and I almost feel like I was going to fall off the bed, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, so they do a lot of manipulations, and chiropractic is changing a lot as well.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
You see a lot more are working in more kind of functional medicine type stuff now.
Yes, the chiropractor I go to does.
Yeah, we are trained as physical therapists to do what's called a grade 5 manipulation. In honesty, I don't use that very often at all, because I can usually do what I need to do without that rapid, thrust movement. But in the right circumstances, it can give you good pain relief. But most of the time, I'm using mobilization, so we're just kind of getting things moving with movement patterns, and I'm mobilizing the joint then.
I see.
Yeah, kind of different.
Do people lie on a bed when you...
Sometimes, yeah.
They do?
Yeah, and then sometimes we're up and doing stuff. We do a lot of functional stuff, so we really try and do like step ups and sit to stands and stuff that would be functional, because you think about how many times you go up and down, get up and down from a chair, and
oh yes,
especially in the older population, those glutes and those quads that help you get up out of that
Tell me about it.
is important. I mean, and you'd be amazed though at how many people have a hard time just getting up from a chair, and so especially a low chair or like a sofa, or like if say you're at a booth at a restaurant. And, those are important things to be able to do. And so, it's funny, I get questions about, these recliners that lift up for you. And it's like, well, but you're perpetuating the problem because you're making yourself even more lazy. Because getting up from a chair, I mean, think about it. You got to go to the bathroom. You got to get up off a toilet.
Absolutely. You do have to.
And so those are really important. But we can definitely address that and work on that. So, because those things are important. And your balance is important. Again, we talk about falls as one of the biggest concerns for seniors. And we just definitely want to make sure all those systems are working together so that you're not, in that risk of falling and God forbid, fracturing something, and then you know how that goes.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because when we were stuck at home for that whole year, I did a lot of jigsaw puzzles.
Uh-huh.
And I was constantly sitting in the chair working these puzzles.
Yeah.
And if I sat too long, trying to get out of that chair
Yeah.
was miserable.
Absolutely.
Absolutely miserable.
Yep, absolutely.
And I don't have one of those that flip yourself forward.
Right, yeah. Yep.
But it was very hard because I did a lot of sitting
Right.
during that time.
And the hard part with that is then some of the muscles in what they call your hip flexors or your psoas, they get tight. And so then when you go to stand up, they're pulling on your lower back, they're pulling on your hips, and that can cause pain.
That's right.
So-
Well, that's why I like to get on the. I have one of those big
The
bicycles.
elliptical or elliptical
something.
machine?
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And I get on that thing every single day.
Good.
And pedal.
Yep.
I mean, pedal like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, stop, Barbara, you're getting tired. But it's a lot better than walking outside because it's not in the heat.
Yep.
I'm in the house, but I'm still getting some exercise.
Absolutely.
And I can move my arms, like this
Yep.
and do this kind of thing the same
Absolutely.
time I'm pedaling.
Yep.
And I can also watch a TV show.
There you go.
Got a TV right there. But it makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Well, and it's important for circulation and just,
Mm-hmm.
muscle tone and,
Yes.
and that helps in everything. It helps in digestion. It helps the whole system.
Yep, it really does.
Yep.
But I love that machine. I love to get on that bike and ride. I really do.
Yep.
It's good exercise, and I don't have to walk all over the place outside and be afraid dogs are going to run out after me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And we have some people in our neighborhood that absolutely will not move from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I've had to go out into the street
Gosh.
to get away from them, for
Yeah.
fear that, you never know when one's going to pounce on you.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
So that's why I like the bike
The bike, yeah,
inside.
yeah.
It was really good, and my husband used it a lot when he was alive because he could not walk
Yeah.
properly. He had to use a walker, but I'd absolutely force him to get on that bike
Yeah.
and start pedaling.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yep.
and it was good for him. It gave him the exercise he needed rather than just lying in the chair all day long, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely that old adage of use it or lose it, and there's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, there really
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older.
Yeah, that's right. I'm always amazed, especially being in physical therapy, because, I treat patients anywhere from usually probably 6 years old is about our youngest. We don't do a lot of pediatrics, but, up to 98, 99 years old. And it's amazing to me, the people that have kept active and kept moving, sometimes they look like they're 50 years old. And then I've had patients that are in their 50s that haven't kept moving and not taking good care of themselves, and they look like they're 90 years
90
old.
years old,
So
yeah.
movement is really, really important. Sleep is really important, and nutrition is really important. Those are kind of the big three. If you can be successful at those three, you're going to do great.
Well, so far so good. I'm being a good girl. But that's very interesting though with physical therapy, because it does help, and a lot of people who are in pain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you can injure yourself just trying to get up out of the chair.
Right. Yeah. No, you can definitely strain something just trying to get out of the chair if those muscles aren't kicking on at the right time.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And let's take a break, shall we? I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
Youth workshops return to the Canyon Theater Guild. Join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting September 7th, for 10 weeks of teamwork and fun while creating theater magic. Our day class from 12:30 to 3:30 will create the fun, pixelated world of video games with Press Start, while our after-school class from 4 to 6 embarks on a swashbuckling adventure with space pirates. Class size is limited, so register today at 661-799-2702 or visit canyontheater.org.
La Esmeralda is home to truly authentic Mexican food. This family-owned restaurant prides itself on its fresh-to-order menu. Even the tortillas are made in-house. If you have a taste for sizzling fajitas, flautas, or menudo, you have to try La Esmeralda's Mexican and seafood restaurant. Dine in or order out for the most authentic Mexican food Santa Clarita has to offer. Their Taco Tuesdays, it'll turn you into a regular. La Esmeralda on Bouquet at Haskell.
There's a very good reason Embrace Your Smile has been voted Santa Clarita's #1 orthodontist for 10 years in a row.
Honestly, it's our team.
Dr. Megan LeCornu.
I think for me, what makes it stand out is when I have patients that come up to me and say, we have never been in a doctor's office that feels like this. Our team is a family, and we really get along, and we are really passionate about what we do, helping our patients get the smiles they want and deserve.
Dr. Megan LeCornu of Embrace Your Smile Orthodontics.
Embrace your smile.
EmbraceYourSmile.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy. And Jean, did you have something you needed to talk about?
What we alluded a little bit to it, Barb, earlier in our discussion about mobility and sustaining our mobility. But fall prevention is key. If you fall, you end up in the hospital or a nursing home if you have to have surgery. And sustaining one's balance and ability to do that is critical for all our seniors. So, Adam, where do we go with our seniors in terms of physical therapy and realizing, and maybe caregivers recognizing that their loved one is not as mobile as before, and that they might need physical therapy to sustain themselves and keep them out of nursing homes?
Absolutely. Well, we start off with a lot of education and kind of getting an assessment of kind of what either their deficits or their environment is. I always kind of go back to when I'm talking with patients, especially if they've come in because they've had a fall and that type of stuff, is kind of assessing what the home environment is like. If there's a lot of throw rugs, are there thresholds that need to be addressed? Are there, plants or stuff like that around, around the corners and stuff like that? Because, especially as we get older, and if they've got like a walker that you're using, if they catch that on, they're more likely to trip and fall. So that's usually where we start off, is really kind of assessing the threats that they potentially could have either in their home environment, or even talking about things, out in the community, that you got to be aware of the surroundings. And then from there, we check out, how their leg strength is, how their ankle strength is, stuff like that. And then we can develop a program to work on that, whether we're working on, balance with single leg, or sometimes we'll put people on a foam pad that makes a little unsteady surface to kind of replicate like if you were walking on, say, out in the yard in grass or gravel, those unsteady surfaces. And so we need to retrain the riding reaction so that if you do catch an edge or something like that, that you have some of those reactions to catch yourself, so that you're able to react quickly. And hopefully catch yourself and not fall. And so those are things that we address. Sometimes we'll do different walking techniques where we do maybe a shortened base of support, so almost like a tandem walking pattern. Because if you challenge those systems, you can make them better. And so that's usually where we'll start, is kind of assessing what those risks are, and then what the deficits are, so that we can address those.
And I think it's really important that not just the patients, but the family members, the caregivers, recognize the threat that an imbalanced patient has and potential for falls. And, we need to make sure that that is brought to the attention of the primary care physician. And, some people will say, oh, yeah, I didn't fall, but, I went down to my knees.
Yeah.
I mean, that really does count as a fall.
Absolutely.
And recognition of that, I think, Adam, is so important that we don't ignore something that could be a clear-cut sign that things are going to spiral down, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a big fall and some surgery that's needed, and the person's whole life changes.
Absolutely.
So it's important to recognize that right off the bat, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And just, sometimes it's really informative talking with either the spouse or a child, an adult child, and you hear, about how we call it wall walking. So if their balance is off, they may think, oh, I'm fine if I'm just holding onto the counter as I walk down, or I hold onto the railing, or I hold onto the wall. Well, if you're having to do that, that could mean that you have a balance deficit that needs to be addressed, and is a safety risk, because think about it. You get out of the car, you got to walk into a store, there's no wall or anything, and so sometimes people can kind of fake it. They'll grab a shopping cart. Well, they just gave themselves, something to hold on to, but that could be an indication that, that balance does need to be addressed before they fall and have an injury. So, those things that you think, oh, well, if I'm holding onto the counter, I'm okay. Well, but your balance is still off. You need to hold on to the counter, and your brain has to input that. But those are the things that we want to try and work on to figure out before it becomes a problem.
Well, it's interesting.
Exactly.
I had an incident a couple of days ago. I've got a
Yep.
big red thing on my the top between my elbow and my wrist, and I was just flying down the hallway, and I turned the corner, and oops, I ran into the side because I lost my balance. I was walking so fast, and I said, Barbara, slow down.
Absolutely, yeah. Because even those losses of balance can be a sign that, hey, maybe we need to work on this balance a little bit.
That's
because
right.
You caught yourself, but there was something.
Well, the wall caught me is what happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I got this mess on my
the
arm.
wall won, I see.
Yes, it did. And it hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Barbie, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard because, like you say, you get into those fast patterns and you're just going. Your environment.
We're used to it.
But
correct.
We got.
Well, I just had new wood flooring put into the house too, and
there you go.
that makes a big difference.
So
really does.
Stuff with that, you got to be real careful if you've got socks on and they don't have any the grip on them.
Oh,
that can make it slippery.
Yes,
so that's
that's
another
very
thing
true.
that could be real careful.
That's very
especially
true.
if you're hauling down the hallway like you said you were. We don't want Barbara sliding out.
That's right. So,
Well,
Adam,
when
how
I
do
get
we-
something
how do we
in
get
my
a hold of
mind that
you?
I'm going to have to do something, I'm thinking, oh, I got to go do it now.
Yeah.
And then I take off.
Take off,
and
go.
that's what happened.
Yep.
So, Adam, if people want to get a hold of you at Focus Physical Therapy, how do they do that?
Phone number is 661-255-4205, and then we're online as well, www.focusphysicaltherapy.scv is in Santa Clarita Valley.com. And those are two of the easiest ways to get a hold of us.
Great, Adam. Thanks for all the info. You're always bringing good information, more information to help our seniors out in this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Santa Clarita Hearing Center. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.